Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to Season 6 and Episode 912 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Whoa, Canada! Always 100% Canadian, and of course, always Beaverific. Today, recording day is Friday, May 22nd, 2026. And as you can tell by the sunlight on my face here, it is an absolutely splendiferous day here at the Beaver Lodge. In fact, I'm going to see, do I actually need the, yeah, I do need the light a little bit here. Yeah, a gorgeous sunny day. I do not see a cloud in the sky whatsoever, and the sun is very much beaming pretty hard, actually, a little intense. It's a little bit right in my eye. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Kids and Cubs, how's your mental health today? I'm doing well, considering the circumstances. Slightly underslept. Everything Danielle just did to the country. But the unpleasant news of the day was slightly made easier to take by the performance of our very own habitant, the Habs, the Montréal Canadiens, who yesterday gave us quite a treat. Very productive first period with 4 goals, to make us feel a little more calm about the whole affair, and a very convincing first match win against the Carolina Hurricanes, 6-2. So there you go. Talk about introducing yourselves and saying, hey, we're here to play. Goals by Caulfield, Texier, Demidov, Slakovsky, twice Slakovsky. And I think I missed somebody. Danu, of course. So, yeah, a lot of people contributing here to the scoring. Off to a great start. 1 down, 3 to go to get to the final, where we should be, so we can bring Lord Stanley's Cup back home, where it should be and where it hasn't been for far, 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 far too long. 3 more wins to go in this one and 7 more wins to go total, 1 win at a time. But yeah, do you feel it? Do you feel it? Do you believe yet? Do you believe yet? I'm all in. I'm all in. All right. So yeah, lots to celebrate there, of course. And we might as well just get right into it. Oh yeah, Kit Bucky here, since we're talking hockey here. Dobish and the Habs defense have been playing as well as they ever have, but the scores had room to improve as they demonstrated last night when they took it up a level. Yes, indeed. Indeed. And of course, Toronto, Dan, reminding us that the Jays won as well. So life is good. In fact, it's been a good time if you're a Montreal hockey fan all around, right? Montreal Victoire winning the Walter Cup, and then the Canadiens the next day winning their first match in the semifinal. If you're a Montreal hockey fan, your cup right now runneth over. Let's hope it runneth over again in a few weeks. See what I did there? See what I did there? Oh, man. Yes, go Habs, go indeed. Uh, I haven't been this excited since 1993. I think there was one more time, though. Somewhere along a few more times somewhere along there. Yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, last night, Danielle Smith, uh, or Premier Poison Made Flesh, as I like to refer to her, or Duplicitous Danny, or Danny Destructo, or, um, well, a lot of, there's a lot of the terms I use for her. Presented her allegedly uh, recorded before the committee even voted on it video announcing that yes, indeed, she was going to betray Canada, as everyone expected that she would. Um, Interesting, a little tidbit for those who didn't join us for the live watch party. Um, just like they couldn't get the petition drive right, just like they couldn't um, hamper Elections Alberta from ever being able to investigate anything ever again right, because they underestimated just how sloppy and brazenly, allegedly criminal, the people they are trying to help actually are. Uh, just like they couldn't get the announcement that they were going to go ahead with a referendum right by um, having a premature enunciation and releasing the press release early, just like they couldn't get a justification for it right by explicitly lying about Forever Canadian and Mr. Lukasik's intentions by seemingly not being able to read a check mark on a form, just like they were not able to get this announcement done correctly. They couldn't get the feed up when came time, so they reserved this time at 8:40. Well, I don't know if they reserved it, if they paid for it, or what it was, but this thing was supposed to air at 8:40 and started late, and therefore, at least on CBC News, the news network that we were watching it on during Ian Hannah-Manson's show, we didn't get to hear the end of Danielle Smith's announcement. It got cut off because, well, the show was ending and they couldn't get it started on time. So everything they have done with regard to this has been utterly and totally incompetent. Again, this is from the government. They're still trying to make people believe that they can govern competently when they can't even organize a system to collect names on a petition competently. I mean, everything you need to know about that government is symbolized in that one thing. They found a way to screw up a petition signing. What else do you need to know? So, the interesting part of last night wasn't going to be whether or not Danielle was going to declare a referendum or not. I guess there was a statistical chance that she might zig when everybody expected her to zag and wouldn't do that. But usually that's not the way Danielle Smith chooses to zag when everyone expects her to zig. And zig she did. just not on whether or not there would be a referendum, because, as you know, at least our hypothesis is that Danielle really does need the turnout on referendum day, because the question of national unity isn't the only question she's got going on referendum day, right? She's got 9 questions that she wants an answer to. All of them uh, in the same vein as the, how would you put it? Everything that she does, totally in oppositional to Ottawa. Ottawa is terrible, trying to trample on our rights, trying to strangle us, trying to meddle in our affairs. We need more autonomy, that type of stuff. So, of course, 5 of them are on immigration and social services. So, immigration control, decreasing immigration levels to more sustainable rates and giving Albertans priority on new employment. Ironic, given that she was the spearhead of the Alberta is welcoming you or something, whatever campaign. But everybody come to Alberta. We want 10 million people by a certain time. Now, she wants to decrease immigration levels, even though immigration levels right now are actually population growth is net negative. At least it was last year. So, you know, Alberta has an opportunity to make certain requests for the number of new permanent residents it wants in a year or that type of stuff. But you know, any immigration levels that she is going to decrease would be anything that the province already has an authority to name on. Because I mean, certainly, um, you're not going to be voting on taking over for Canada. How much immigration Canada is going to bring in. Program eligibility, restricting provincial programs, health, education, and social services to citizens, permanent residents, and those with Alberta approved status. Sounds good for those who want to me at first, until you realize that at some point you are going to need to bring people in. And then if you bring people in and you don't have the services, well, we just learned what that was like. So, is this a rule until such time as we need bring people in, and then we slack that rule, thus causing less consternation to people uh, uh, who love the anti-immigrant vibe of all of this? Residency requirements, mandating a 12-month Alberta residency for non-permanent residents before qualifying for social support. And should they need social support anytime in those 12 months, I guess um, they're on their own, and there will be absolutely no consequences to society for that. Fees and premiums, charging individuals with non-permanent legal status a fee to access healthcare and education. Yes, with all those wonderful dollars they are making, especially if they happen to be on the lower end of the economic ladder. Again, not creating any situation that could somehow be harmful for everybody in Alberta that does have permanent legal status. And of course, voter verification, requiring proof of citizenship in order to cast a ballot in provincial elections. Constitutional changes. Again, proof of citizenship. I thought that that was. I thought you had to be a citizen already to vote in provincial elections. Sometimes party nomination races and leadership races, the parties will change the rules, but in order to cast a vote in a provincial election, um, yeah, I'm. I don't know. Maybe let me see that. Take a look in there. Who is entitled to vote in an Alberta provincial election? Because I'm wondering if any of these things are things that are actually non-issues that she's just putting on to froth the uh, uh, the anti-immigrant sentiment. It says here, ordinary residents. Some Albertans may spend their time at more than one location in the province. Yeah, okay, that's all right. A person can only have one ordinary residence. All right. But you need to be a Canadian citizen, 18 years of age, and a resident of Alberta. So you already need to be a Canadian citizen in order to vote, uh, but you want proof of citizenship. Um, I mean, okay, all right. And then some constitutional changes, some of them that are just utterly bonkers. Judicial appointments, amending the Constitution to allow provincial governments to select their own King's Bench and Appeal Court justices. I don't know how she's going to manage it, given that the Canadian Constitution is not hers to amend. Um, yeah. Abolishing the Senate, working with other provinces to abolish the unelected federal Senate. Stephen Harper kind of tried that. You don't only need to work with the provinces, you're going to have a vote on that in the House of Commons that passes, and a vote in the Senate that passes. And I hardly believe that the senators will vote to abolish themselves. Again, we've tried this. Provincial paramountcy, giving provincial laws priority over federal laws in areas of shared constitutional jurisdiction. Why? Why? If it's shared constitutional jurisdiction, why should provincial laws have priority over federal ones? We're a country, not a collection of mini sovereign states. We're a confederation. Equalization, amending the Constitution to eliminate or fundamentally reform the federal equalization program. Why? It doesn't cost you anything and you only benefit from it. Alberta doesn't write a check every year to put into an equalization fund. The federal government writes a check and puts it into an equalization fund. And the equalization fund funds education in all those Atlantic Canadian provinces that you get all those workers from to help exploit that oil. The, that you say Canada does absolutely nothing to help you promote, even though you just put out a video a couple of days ago bragging about what a wonderful economic performance and how well Alberta is doing. But you see, that's the thing with Danielle Smith, is that she has absolutely no problem at all holding two different discourses that are completely opposed, right? Um, Canada is trying to strangle us. They're killing us. And at the same time, putting out a video, look how well we're doing. We're pumping out more oil than ever. Well, which one is it? Is Canada strangling you so that you can't achieve your potential with your resources? Or are you pumping out more oil than ever and doing better than anyone ever expected? Because it can't be both at the same time. But Danielle Smith is absolutely perfectly capable of maintaining these two separate discourses at the same time. Or, I'm a federalist. Now watch me do everything I can to help the separatists break up the country. So yeah. Yeah, indeed. Uh, so yeah, this is the one thing you need to understand about Danielle is that well, one, she reflexively lies. Two, she's a narcissist. And three, no matter what the decision is, Danielle's first loyalty is to herself. We are talking about a woman who has crossed the floor twice, who has killed her political career several times already, and still manages finding a way to come back. In politics, she's the equivalent, and I don't want to say this. Um, People often use uh, comparisons to bugs and insects and whatnot in order to dehumanize someone. I'm not saying this to do that, but she is the political equivalent of cockroaches that can survive nuclear winter. She appears to be impervious to destruction, even when she completely implodes. She just goes away for a bit, does a radio show for a while, and then comes back, and it's like everybody forgets. how she blew herself up or betrayed her parties before. Danielle Smith's loyalty, just like Trump, is only to herself. Uh, Once you understand that, you understand a lot. And Danielle Smith uh, wants to have it all. You see, she put herself in a position where she still needs to have the fig leaf of appearing like a federalist. So when she made the announcement, of course, even though people have been asking her, will you sign the Forever Canadian petition or not, and she avoided saying anything, this time right into it said that, oh, no, no, she intends to vote to stay in Canada. Of course, well, that's what Danielle says, but as we have learned, um, we should never, ever, 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 ever pay attention to anything Danielle says. We should pay attention to only what she does. And even though the mouth keeps on saying I'm a federalist, everything else is screaming, no, not really. Um, but she needs that. And then she, of course, needs the support of the SEPIs because, well, they don't 100% completely run the party yet, but they pretty much run the party. And if we look at public opinion polling, um, even though the majority of Albertans want nothing to do with separation, about 57% of people who claim they vote UCP are really into it. So when more than half of the people who declare themselves supporters of your party are very interested in entertaining an option where leaving Canada is being proposed, if you're the leader of that party and you take the other side of the issue, you're pretty much taking a step to being relieved of your position. Well, Danielle doesn't want that because, well, number one, she likes telling people what to do. Number two, she loves the camera and the microphone. I mean, that one would have had the opening of an envelope, so in order to get attention. Um, and the premier seat loves that. I mean, uh, what more proof do you need that while she's premier, she still does the your premier in your province show, right? She loves media. She loves media. Um, so yeah, uh, she needs to try to keep them on board, and since she needs her fight with Ottawa going again, and public opinion seems to be indicating that only about 27% of Albertans support her 9 proposals. Well, she's hoping that if she can get the SEPIs mad enough at Canada, that they'll come out and vote yes to all her proposals on the referendum proposals that are intended so that they can stick it to Canada while hoping that the vote on independence fails because she wants it all. So she's trying to arrange it to have that. Um, so she needs to look like a federalist, but she needs to keep the SEPIs on board somehow, while also needing to look like she is not the one causing the referendum. Now, of course, the SEPI's utter and total incompetence at collecting signatures and managing an electors list created a situation where the ball was placed back in her court because the petition drive for the SEPIs was not legal. Now, Danielle Smith frames it as their voices being silenced. No, the judge did not rule. You had one shot at this and you screwed up, so you never have a chance to express yourself ever on this again. They just would have had to do the petition drive over again, but do it the legal way, fulfilling the duty to consult with Indigenous people. And then, if they were able to get the signatures and the signatures were verified, then they'd be able to go. So there was nobody denying them their voice. If they wanted to do the right thing, they didn't do the right thing in the right way or correct way. That was the problem. But only hears Danielle Smith selectively hears what it is that she needs to in order to be able to do the next thing to get through the next moment, because that's all Danielle Smith does is get through the next moment. And she hopefully needs to do it in such a way that she doesn't drive away investment in the pipeline. Because, well, when she needs that pipeline that she can point to say, "Hey, look, I'm getting things done," but also, Prime Minister Mark Carney really wants that pipeline, and, given that Alberta didn't actually suggest any other major projects other than the pipeline, which the Prime Minister, with the MOU and now the implementation agreement, expanded into a much larger project that has carbon capture element and has a small nuclear reactor component and that has an interties component. He really wants to get that done, but she may have created a situation that makes that much more difficult. So I can't imagine that he's too pleased with her. And as the prime minister somewhat suggested the British Columbia that he's prepared to look elsewhere. Um, Not too sure how much of a actual threat that is, in the sense that uh, if we are still hearing the tick tick tock of diversifying the economy, I'm not sure it's also in the prime minister's interest to slow walk any of the many other projects that he had slated for British Columbia, just because Mr. Eby might be a little less willing to play ball on the pipeline itself. Um, Although Mr. Eby might have a much a whole lot less to worry about on that one after last night than he did the day before. Um, but the prime minister willing to take the position publicly that uh, there are plenty of other projects, and if people are not cooperating, he has no problem putting his attention elsewhere. If this one doesn't go through, Alberta's got nothing going on. And if that happens, you know that Danielle Smith or whoever comes next will try to blame Ottawa for that, but they literally have nobody to blame for themselves because, well, they were not creative enough to think of even one other project that they could put on the table. They limited themselves, much like Saskatchewan complaining all the time for the longest time that they had no representation in the Trudeau government, while at the same time encouraging everybody in Saskatchewan to not vote Liberal whatsoever. It's like, I'm sorry, Premier Mo, but it's not like you can win the lottery if you don't at least meet Canada halfway and buy a ticket. So, um, she's trying to have it all. And in order to have it all, she came up with a question. A kind of question that only, again, someone who is selfish, wants her way on absolutely everything, wants to have it all, and wants to bear no responsibility for any data they may be creating along the way, while of course also conveniently being a narcissist and bulldozing over everyone. A mess of a question that only a person like that could come up with. Um, she came up with, as the title of the show indicates, a referendum. DUMB. It's dumb. It's really, really dumb. But as the title says, not thoughtless. She's put a lot of thought into this. But the thought she put into it is, how can I have it all? And again, as we learn often in life, while over the course of one life we can't have it all, we just can't have it all at once. We can't be young and pretty and thin and buff and rich and accomplished and have the perfect house and have the perfect spouse and be esteemed internationally and be famous all at once and healthy. Over the course of your life, you could maybe be each of those things, but all at the same time? No. But Danielle sure is gonna try. So, yeah, Danielle Smith came up with a question for us to consider. Should Alberta remain a province of Canada, or should the government of Alberta commence the legal process required under the Canadian Constitution to hold a binding provincial referendum on whether or not Alberta should separate from Canada? Wow, that's a mouthful. Now, the first thing you might notice about that question is that it's not a yes or no question as we are used to. It's more of a Brexit style, shall we leave or shall we remain? Do you want Alberta to remain a province of Canada, or do you want to commence a legal process required under the Canadian Constitution to hold a binding provincial referendum? Um, so, if this is an option A versus option B referendum, uh, I know that federally those are not legal because the Federal Referendum Act requires a referendum question to be one that is a yes or no. So, would this question be conform with the Clarity Act? One would say no, except that, and here's the clever little thing, is that given that a vote, do you want A or B, is not a question that triggers a constitutional matter. Yet, if we vote to remain a province of Canada, the thing ends because she said that she would abide by whatever result she gives. Again, if you believe her, that she will follow through on a promise, because she frequently doesn't. And as we keep on mentioning, she's already proven that she doesn't respect all referendum decisions, right? As Alberta just experienced with daylight savings time. But if it goes the other way, well, then all that happens is that Alberta commences the allegedly legal process required under the Canadian Constitution to hold a binding provincial referendum on whether or not Alberta should separate from Canada. So nothing constitutional has been triggered by this question. If they vote yes to starting the process, then that starts the matter that would fall within the Clarity Act. Basically, she's asking them to vote. She wrote in this referendum, asking them to vote on whether or not they would want a referendum. So voting to this in any way, shape, or form, at least for the SEPIs, does not provoke the referendum they so desperately wanted now. And we know they so desperately wanted it now because, again, they allegedly lied, stole, cheated, and did whatever in order to be able to get it. And somehow found a way to get the premier to bend over backwards and contort herself into a pretzel in order to create the conditions for which that could even be possible. And even then, they couldn't get it done the right way. It's almost like Stephen Harper with the pipeline, right? Gutted all these laws, changed everything, and after all of that and all the court cases and everything, didn't manage to lay a single inch of pipe towards tidewater. Same thing with Danielle here. Gutting laws, changing things, destroying norms. And for what? To give them a vote on whether or not they want a vote. Yeah, they're going to be super thrilled with that. And that leaves everybody else in Canada going, what the fuck? But it gets her out of that little thing, right? She wants it all. How do I get to say, well, I didn't do anything that provoked a constitutional question? Well, you present a question that's messed up like this. Now, if you look at the second part of this, or should the government of Alberta commence the legal process required under the Canadian Constitution to hold a binding provincial referendum? What legal process required under the Canadian Constitution is that? If anybody watched the At Issue panel, somebody might have been Chantal Hébert, uh, or maybe Andrew Coyne, that maybe Andrew Coyne in this case pointed out. If you are reading the Constitution, there's absolutely no mention in the Constitution whatsoever about referendas or separation. What legal process is required under the Canadian Constitution to hold a binding provincial referendum? There is none. She's asking them to vote on something that does not exist. But that's Danielle, right? Fun with words. Okay, you voted for this. Oh my God. Well, there isn't actually a legal process that is required. I don't know what to do now. And then blame it on Ottawa somehow. For not way back in 1982 having put something in the Constitution that would make it clear what the legally binding process is to have a referendum. And then it would appear that this question, what's the only way this question could become even more convoluted? Right? It would be if the question was not presented as do you select option A, remaining, or option B, kickstarting the process, but whether you would um, make it a dual lane referendum where you ask for a vote on part A and a vote on part B. So, do you want to stay in Canada, yes or no? Or do you want us to start this process, yes or no? Wow. Because if it is a dual track, what if you get someone who votes yes on Alberta remaining a province of Canada, but still wants to send a message and also votes yes to trying to scare us a little bit? Courtney Theriault, who is the host of the Courtney Theriault Show on CHED 880 in Edmonton, says, to clarify, Alberta's complex separation question will be broken into two pieces, having an A and a B on the ballot. So it appears that Albertans are not going to be asked to vote, even though the question says, should Alberta remain a province of Canada, or should Alberta remain the province of Canada, yes or no? Should the government of Alberta commence the legal process under yes or no? Yeah, that's going to be a winner. Just then, there's a lot of people wondering if the question is asked as a full question, uh, and let's say it's a yes or no, and not an A or B. What does yes mean? What are you voting yes to? Because somebody, if you vote no, somebody can make the legal argument that the no vote means well, you support the government of Alberta beginning the constitutional legal process for binding provincial on separation because you've rejected Alberta remaining a province. Or You could have a yes vote being interpreted as support for the Alberta government to begin the constitutional process because you voted yes on the part about separation. The government decides to interpret your vote as yes on the part of separation. Much like the government just showed us, they were able to interpret a check mark next to something that says start a legislative process as being Thomas Lukasik explicitly demanded a referendum. Why not create a question if it wasn't going to be an A B question that the yes or the no could be interpreted as whatever you want it to be when the day comes? So people were wondering if that was up with that question. It would appear uh, that um, a lot of people are recognizing that, yeah, I mean, it's not like Danielle Smith could have just gone with a blunt secession question. Why not? Why not? Oh, yeah, that doesn't serve her. Because, but this is a mess. Apparently, cabinet can adjust it. The question: do you think cabinet is going to oppose Miss everything that opposes me is inherently undemocratic and must be destroyed? Yeah, I doubt it. Um, oh boy, a lot of people are not happy about this. The mayor of Edmonton, Andrew Knack. Edmonton is always and always will be a vital part of Canada. Premier Smith and the UCP government separatist agenda is catastrophic for Edmontonians, Albertans, and all Canadians. Premier Smith's government is causing severe economic uncertainty that will only result in lost investment and lost jobs that we all rely on. The Chamber of Commerce's and the president of ADCO have been on the about that since as early as March. At a time when families are focused on affordability, access to quality public health care, and strong public education, moving forward with a referendum to do another referendum does nothing to help and wastes our money and time and energy. It's a distraction from the issues facing everyday Albertans. I'm guessing that's what Danielle Smith likes and kind of needs right now. When the separatist agenda and virtue signaling take priority over stable and collaborative governance, Albertans lose out. I will be fighting against this separation referendum, and I encourage all Edmontonians to not be complacent. Edmontonians believe in this country, and I believe in this country. Make sure you vote to send a clear message that Edmonton is always going to be a critical part of Canada and that UCP provincial government should be focusing on the issues that make your life more affordable, creates jobs, and builds a stronger economy for all. And I would like to offer my deepest gratitude to the First Nations and Métis governments across the province for leading the way in the support of a united Canada. This reckless referendum cannot ignore the treaties that form the foundation of this province and this country. That was from the Mayor of Edmonton. Um, wow. Let's see here. What else do we have here on this from Mr. Theriault? Jeffrey Rath has endorsed a plan that calls for leadership review of Premier Danielle Smith, who must be removed for a pro-separation leader who will then replace the current sovereignty question. The plan says this must happen before Canada finishes transforming into an authoritarian police state. Oh, God, girl. Your hat's on too tight. Your boots maybe too. There's a guy named Jeff Berube. I have no idea who he is. Goes to my fellow independent supporters. It's time to cross the Rubicon. We must fully commit to independence. No turning back. As Canada is accelerating towards an authoritarian police state, it will not. Blah 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 blah. Jeffrey Rath. This is the only way forward. The die is cast. Except these people don't want independence. They want subservience. Particularly Mr. Rath. There's the whole thing from Mr. Berube here. To my fellow independent supporters, it's time to cross the Rubicon. We must fully commit to independence, no turning back. As Canada is accelerating towards an authoritarian police state, it will not matter who the premier is if we can get there before the end of the year. Therefore, 22 UCP constituency associations must simultaneously pass a motion to convene a special general meeting for a leadership review. 2. Danielle Smith must be removed and a pro-independence premier voted in. 3. Once the new premier is sworn in, a motion to halt the current referendum and replace it with a binding constitutional referendum on secession must be passed. Concerns about vote splitting must be ignored, as the Smith UCP or the NDP being in charge will be irrelevant once Canada has implemented all the destruction that's currently on the horizon. Remember, 88% of our trade is with the United States. The U.S. is by all indications going to announce the cancellation of CUSMA July 1st. This will begin a 6-month countdown before the treaty lapses. We cannot afford to wait, and we have no power to stop anything that Ottawa is doing due to Carney's majority in the House of Commons. Fear, 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 fear. We're more likely to become a police state under these freaks. Oh man. So yeah, this is a mess. A mess. Um, Courtney Turio also adds, I don't know if Alberta's referendum question will pass the Clarity Act, but it will pass the Calamity Act. Funny. Mitch Sylvester allegedly posted something, but then took it down. I'm seeing some separatist voices seeing the referendum on a referendum as a way to get hesitant supporters on side, suggesting they'd be more inclined to vote for this than actual separation in order to send Ottawa a message. Yeah, that's the problem. But then, if they vote for that, all we do is get plunged back into this again. All it will do is drive away investment for even longer. Jeffrey Rath, of course, as we mentioned yesterday on the show, first reaction, Danielle Smith deals a referendum question from the bottom of the deck. To hell with 301,620 Albertans who were promised a vote on their question. They never should have been promised a vote on their question. Let's have a referendum on having a referendum. Danielle Smith just lost her base. Please let that be true. And please let it simultaneously be that the base is not big enough to be a factor anymore after it. So yeah, that's Danielle here. Now, in her video presentation, that was about 15 minutes in length, about 10 of it 10 minutes too long, clearly designed to drown all of this in a whole big bunch of propaganda. Lots of anti-Trudeau, anti-liberal, anti-Ottawa stuff in there. Danielle Smith doing that thing where she puts that fake honey in her voice. I think Canada can work, and I think it's working better with every passing day. Giving all these successes I've been having with the pipeline, whatnot, that I'm like torching right now. And tries to make the case while not making the case. Very, very, very weirdly going about it. Again, in the way only Dan knows how. She promotes, of course, her website, Alberta Referendum 2026 CA, where the other questions that she wants to ask are there. Near the end of her video, the part that we did not get to see, she says, Albertans, well, let me just put it this here. I don't know if I want to show this because I don't want to give her more publicity than this deserves because it's a bit of a mess. But I think I need to do this. Because she tries to speak to both those who want a referendum and those who don't. And her speaking to those who don't strikes me as a little weird because throughout this entire process, she has ignored the voices of those who don't, particularly those who signed the Forever Canadian petition. I think also it was Andrew Coyne last night who made the point that who she's speaking for. She's speaking for these 301,000. We cannot let them go through all of this and not have their voices even be considered. But the nearly 500,000 that didn't want a referendum in the first place, you've misrepresented their voices, and the 2 point something million other Albertans who could have signed petition and voted on this, but chose not to, who don't care enough about the issue, clearly, to show up and sign a petition, so therefore are not asking for referendum. They too, clearly, are not being considered whatsoever. So I think, you know what, I am going to play the last few minutes because we see it yesterday. And I want you to hear how it is that she's speaking to the two groups, and notice the moment where she puts the honey in her voice, wanting you to believe that she does believe that Canada can work. I might be starting a little bit mid-sentence here, but we're getting close to the part.
Better for our province than they were under the Trudeau NDP government. Both major federal parties, the federal Conservatives and now the federal Liberals, representing 85% of voters in Canada, are advocating for Alberta to increase our energy production and exports. Only some extremists in the NDP, Bloc Québécois, and Green parties, representing less than 15% of voters in Canada, hold fast to their anti-Alberta, leave-it-in-the-ground rhetoric. This complete turning of Canadian government policy and national public opinion was unthinkable just a few short years ago.
Okay. Again, as you can see, not able to quit Trudeau right from the get-go. And again, framing all rhetoric that is pro-environment as necessarily being anti-Alberta. Right? Because they always have to be the victim.
No one thought it was possible, except here in Alberta. We turned the tide. We are winning hearts and minds to our cause right across the country, as many of our fellow Canadians are coming to understand that a strong Alberta and strong provinces means a stronger and more prosperous Canada. Now, to those hundreds of thousands of Albertans who are still not convinced or are unsatisfied with the pace of change and believe that separation is the answer, I want you to know that I empathize with you and I understand why you feel that way. You are justifiably frustrated and angry with Ottawa. You are proud and loyal Albertans that have watched our province be taken advantage of repeatedly over past decades, and you want it to stop. So do we.
She sounds like Donald Trump now, right? Canada's been taking advantages for years. So unfair.
Why? More than anything. Like you, I love this province and our people so much. I am so proud to be Albertan. But I asked you to please consider joining me to vote for Alberta to remain in Canada and not give up on our beautiful country just as we're gaining respect and the tide has turned in our favor. Not when our fellow Canadians, even those that may support different political parties, are nonetheless supporting Alberta's vision for a prosperous, energy-rich nation with strong provinces building a Canada we can be proud of again. In my view, now is not the time to give up hope in our country, not when we have fought so hard for so long and come so far. I believe Canada can still work. I believe it's working better every day, and it can work even better in the future if we keep fighting together for it.
So in this, she's basically saying, listen, I've been working so hard to do this. Basically, don't screw this up for me. That's what she's saying here. Because she's a narcissist.
Together with our fellow Canadians, we have built a Canada that is loved and respected all over the world. Our men and women have died together, fighting for our freedoms and the safety of hundreds of millions around the globe. Canadians were there in Europe, fighting and making the ultimate sacrifice in the Second World War long before we were joined in that effort by our American allies. Together with our allies, we were also instrumental in beating back the forces of communism and terrorism. The world would be a much darker place if not for Canada. We have built marvels of technology together. We are known the world over as a country of innovators, explorers, and entrepreneurs, but also of peacemakers, philanthropists, and contributors to the good of the world. Our federal politicians may stray from our foundational values from time to time, but our fellow Canadians, they are our family, our friends, our blood. We all know our family needs to do some work to get rid of a few bad habits developed over the past decade. But that's what we are in the process of fixing. Now is the time to double down and fight even harder for the prosperity and change we want to see in our country. Because Albertans are at our best when we are hard at work getting things done for each other and our families, solving problems, serving our communities, creating and innovating, building a stronger Alberta and a stronger Canada. And now is our chance to do so, finally with a Chinook wind at our backs instead of a winter blizzard in our face. Finally, I wish to speak with those of you who already agree with me that Alberta should remain in Canada. Let us guard against the trap of using division and demonization tactics against our fellow Albertans with whom we disagree.
Oh my God, this coming from her. This coming from her. To the people that agree with me, let's not demonize the people who have created such a mess of things that they've put us in this situation. Let's absolve them of all responsibility. Now, I understand that demonizing people, especially in a referendum campaign where everything's geared towards emotion and not really logic, is not a very productive thing to do. But this person who lives to demonize everything, not Alberta, not anything that's not her and her view specifically, telling people not to demonize others. She who has made a career out of demonizing everything and everyone, begging people now to not follow her example. Her who in this particular speech just talked about people who don't share her view on the development of the oil industry as being extremists. But please, because disagreement is treason when you're a fascist. Please don't demonize and vilify the people who want to break up. And all of this, of course, is in the frame of, I'm a loyal Albertan. She's going to vote for Canada. I think Canada can work. We're just getting the respect, all this work that I've done. Don't mess it up with me. But never in there. She says that she'll vote for Canada, but she never says she's a loyal Canadian. She says she's a loyal Albertan. And she's talking in here about not demonizing other loyal Albertans. The problem is that everybody that's on the separatist issue is not necessarily a loyal Albertan. Now, are they, Danny? Mr. Rath is not a loyal Albertan. Mr. Rath appears to want to be in position to become the governor of the 52nd state of Alberta. 53rd, if Venezuela and Cuba are brought in first. The people organizing this to the point that they're willing to take your head on a platter if they don't get their way are not loyal Albertans. They do not want an independent country of Alberta. It is, for them, it's just the first step into being assumed as an American state, where they believe that they will enter the land of milk and honey in a country that has bond yields that are going through the roof, a debt that's about to explode, no friends, fewer allies, and certain countries that might be mulling over selling off a lot of U.S. debt relatively soon, thus putting it in a very bad pickle. Judgment and discernment is not on the menu here. Neither is good taste, arguably. Let's continue asking what it is that she wants for the people trying to break up the country, that she is still insisting on describing as loyal Albertans. Again, she can put two completely opposite things together in the same sentence, say it with a straight face, and try to make it sound normal. It's ridiculous how she does this all the time.
On this matter, the vast majority of those advocating for separation love our province profoundly. Many are also proud Canadians that have simply lost hope that their families can flourish within Canada. So instead of attacking these loyal Albertans, let's work together to restore hope in their country again. Let's work together to hold Ottawa accountable for implementing the Alberta-Ottawa energy deal and get that pipeline built to the West Coast. Let's work together to get Ottawa to stand down on their unfair persecution of law-abiding gun owners. Let's work together to build an immigration system that helps support our economy while putting Alberta workers and taxpayers first.
See, there she goes. I believe in Canada, but look at her vilifying us again. Nobody is scapegoating law-abiding gun owners. Again, these gun proposal laws are not to punish law-abiding gun owners. They're for the people who are law-abiding gun owners until they are not. That's what those laws are for.
Let's demonstrate why Alberta can be stronger and more prosperous as a member of a renewed and unified Canada, one that is moving past the last 10 years to empower provinces to develop and export our resources and to govern our own provincial affairs free from federal interference. Let's use the power of hope and persuasion and reject the language of division and demonization. We are, after all, each other's neighbors, friends, and family. We must never let the voices of hatred and vilification divide us as a people. Because at the end of this debate, and when the referendum is over, we must come together to ensure that our beloved province continues to prosper. And that is my hope, that our beloved Alberta and Canada will remain forever strong and free. Thank you and good night.
So, pardon me. Sorry there, I had to clear my throat. So yeah, that was her closing pitch for Canada. She's cooked. She is cooked. I mean, maybe Danielle Smith has this magic superpower. Maybe she did find the way to pick a question that said, hey, doesn't violate the Clarity Act. Hey, doesn't violate the Constitution. Hey, I'm giving the seppies a chance to express themselves. Hey, I still kind of sort of look, for those who squint really hard, like a federalist. Hey, it's only a vote on whether or not we should have a vote. So, hey, investment, there's no reason for you to dry up yet. It's dumb. But she put a lot of thought into it on how to save her own bacon and try to get everything. So it's not thoughtless, but it's dumb and it's messy and it's sloppy and it's a whole bunch of word salad that ultimately leads to nothing, that keeps the issue alive so that she can continue the fight later on if she's lucky enough to stay. It's a mess. And it's the kind of mess that only a pure narcissist who's putting herself above party and country can come up with. It's too cute by half. It's too clever. And it ultimately makes nobody happy. This is not federalist enough for federalists. It's definitely not separatist enough for those who are not loyal Albertans who are spearheading this. It is definitely not something that puts the issue to rest with finality as it opens the door to us having to do this all over again. If it is a two-track question, how it is that those answers are interpreted at the end becomes a whole mess, and none of us know what it is that she's going to do at the time with the results. She says, I will respect the result, but if you ask a two-pronged question where you're asking people to vote on each of the options within the question that says or, right? Think about it. Do you want apples or oranges? Do you want apples, yes or no? Do you want oranges, yes or no? Well, if that's the way the question is formed, then the question is no longer do you want apples or oranges? Right? You could vote yes to having apples and oranges if a question is formed that way. How does Danielle Smith respect the results that she vowed that she would respect? Because this referendum is non-binding. This is, I guess, more of a plebiscite than a referendum, really. Because there is a difference. I believe the difference between a plebiscite and a referendum is that one is just consulting people for their views, whereas the other is supposed to be binding. Um, so yeah, it's probably more of a plebiscite. A plebiscite is a non-binding vote, necessarily. The results of the vote collected are for informational purposes only. A referendum is legally binding. So she's calling it a referendum, but this may be a plebiscite if Danielle Smith reserves the option of respecting or not the decision, which she has by stating explicitly in the video that she commits to respect the decision. It's a plebiscite. She can change her mind at the last minute like she often does. Oh, that's not the result I like. Well, I know I said I would, but here's the reason why I won't. It's a mess. You have let's go see what the kids and cubs here are saying on this issue here. Let's see. Kid Bucky, we could negotiate a new equalization formula that would be a reasonable means of confronting the made-up issue, but we tried that under Jason Kenney, though. Remember? when oil was over $100 a barrel back then, and they were complaining that they weren't getting to keep enough of their profits. We changed the equalization formula. The equalization formula that they are complaining now was the one that was made at the time where they had Stephen Harper, the most pro-oil prime minister in Canadian history, allegedly, still didn't get it done, as leader of Canada, allegedly Albertan, not really from Toronto, but representing Alberta, and then Jason Kenney, literally Canada's own version of Nigel Farage before there was a Nigel Farage, as the leader in Alberta, the most pro-oil premiers at the time, and most pro-oil prime minister at the time. Simultaneously, at the same time, both of them from Alberta, they made the equalization formula, and they're still not happy with it. It's their own formula. Those 9 bad laws, those carbon taxes, everything like that Pierre has been complaining about and that they've been complaining about forever. While the prime minister is negotiating the implementation agreement, Pierre's out there printing a schedule of what the right carbon tax should be, 0.0000. Pierre all over complaining that, hey, Mark Carney is stealing my ideas on cutting all these taxes. Well, you know who else stole your idea? Justin Trudeau, when he stole Stephen Harper's idea on implementing a carbon tax. Yeah, that's the thing that conservatives keep on forgetting to tell you too, is that the carbon tax was originally their idea. The industrial carbon tax that Danielle Smith has been so trying to undermine is an Alberta concept. It was started in Alberta. They had the first one. So you got Pierre Poilievre trying to make you believe that the Liberals are stealing all the conservative ideas, as conservatives are rejecting their own ideas that Liberals had already stolen. The carbon tax. The least bureaucratic and most effective way to actually tackle the issue. Inherently conservative in design. They suggested it first. They implemented it first. Christy Clark wasn't exactly a Liberal, even though she was running under the Liberal banner in British Columbia. It's their idea. They were for it. Then Liberals started putting it in place, and then they started campaigning against it. So they wanted it removed, so the Liberals removed it. And now they're saying, hey, they're stealing all our ideas. Both of them, instituting the carbon tax and removing it, both of them were conservative ideas first. They don't know what they want. They want the fight. They don't want a deal like Trump. They want the drama. This is more drama. Just like, wow. What else do the kids have to say here about some of this? Let's see. Going through the stuff, there's lots of conversation here. I'm trying to see if there's anything related to the topic here coming in. Just going through. There we go. Kit Chocolate Thunder. Why oppose the referendum if there's only 27% support? Just let them have it. The results should quash the separation movement. Yes, you would think so. The problem is that the opportunity to have the referendum creates the opportunity for foreign interference. It creates the opportunity for people to confuse others on what it is that they are exactly voting for. A question like the one that Danielle is proposing isn't exactly helping. You don't actually know what you're voting for here. You don't know exactly how it is that she's going to interpret the results. She couldn't even say during that whole presentation when she proposed that question, if it was going to be a yes or no question, either or question, whether or not you were getting to vote on either of those proposals. And she said she would respect the vote, but she didn't say how she would interpret a yes or no vote on these questions. This is all information that you need to give people beforehand. She hasn't done that. People do not know. If that's the question that's put out there with the information that she's put out there, now people don't know what they're voting for. And what a yes vote will actually mean. It creates in the moment whatever it is that she decides that they mean, regardless of anything that was said before. And it does drive away investment. Investment is already drying up. Just the hint of uncertainty. And that's the reason why they're trying. A lot of people want to quash the referendum. At all, we don't need this. There's no demand for it, and all it's going to do is open the door to trouble. And if it opens the door to trouble and trouble spills over, well, that's more messes that we're going to have to clean up. That's going to cost more money, more time, create more division. Like, let's just not go there. That's the argument on the other side. Let's see here if there's more stuff here. But it's a good question, because on its face, right? Why the hell are we doing this then? Kid Grace, foreign press are confusing the referendum on the referendum, and it's creating more confusion and instability for Canada because of Smith. Investment will not come. Kid Linda, even our own press produced misleading headlines about the referendum, saying it was on separation when it's on staying in Canada or starting the process of having a referendum on separation. Yeah, that's much like when Justin Trudeau said this will be the last election under first past the post, and everybody said he just promised us proportional representation. Kit Breen's pointing out a point that we make here: separatists don't want the pipeline going to BC because they want it for the United States. Yes, because they do not want to be the independent Republic of Alberta. They want to become the 51st, 52nd, or 53rd state of the United States. And they want all those resources. Like I keep on saying, it's looking more and more like it's a coup to steal our resources. When the United States said that they wanted to annex us, they're not going to do it militarily. They're going to do it this way. Hey, how would you like a little thing about referendum? Yeah, you want referendum. Yeah, you really do want referendum. Okay, once it's going, okay, now let's just put all that money and interference in there and try to turn that to 27% into 50% plus one. Let's create a real mess up there. Let's feed them stories for the next month about how they're being so oppressed by Canada, and they need to send Ottawa a message. Don't worry. Don't worry. You're just sending a message. It won't actually break up the country. And then you send the messages, yeah, look at that. No, you voted to break up the country. Yeah, I know where you put the check mark on your form, but we're choosing to interpret that as the complete opposite of what you wanted now, because we can. And frankly, who's going to stop us? I dare you to stop us. And that's Danielle Smith's attitude. Because if you try to stop us, well, then I'm just going to cry oppression. Oh, look at big bad Ottawa trying to keep us down. Isn't that Ottawa big and bad? Look what Ottawa's doing to me. That's where Danielle Smith is going with this. Man. Let's see. What else do we have here from us here, Kids and Cubs? Kit Linda, there's a Keystone pipeline system into the U.S. The Keystone X-Line pipeline was canceled, and Jason Kenney still wanted that Keystone pipeline. Didn't he spend a lot of money in the United States to ensure that there was something built over there? The U.S. wants the oil for themselves, does not want Canada having anything that strengthens their independence, not meaning building another pipeline to the U.S., just the oil. Yeah. Let's see, what else do we have here? Yep. Kid Grace notices that the answer yes to the question could fit both statements. Exactly. That's why Danielle Smith did it. Oh boy. Kid Saucy, investment won't come to Alberta for sure. The media needs to get its shit together, but the heads are not doing their job. We have somebody here writing "Go Alberta, go." Not sure if they're saying "Go Alberta, go" like cheering "Go Alberta, go" or "Go Alberta, go." Uh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Kit Saucy song. Should I stay or should I go now? Dun, 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 dun. I hear you. I hear the song in my head. Kit Linda, I think that's her attempt to say she'll consult with Indigenous and First Nations on separation. She's trying to throw everything into the question and mishandling all of it. I'm thinking that this might be, again, if it's her way to say it, I'm thinking this is her way to delay any consultation as long as possible. She doesn't really seem to be that inclined to want to sit across the table from them. Just saying. Um, do we have anything else here? Yeah, there we go. Should I stay or should I go now? By the Clash. Kid Bucky knew exactly what Kid Saucy was talking about there as well. All right. Kitavi confusing the people to capitulate. That could be a strategy. Make it so messy that people just get exhausted. This referendum shit's never going to happen. Just screw it. Why bother go vote on this? It could be a voter suppression thing. If the vote is only to have the opportunity to vote, then what's the point in going voting? Screw it. A lot of people might decide that. That might be a reason why the separatists are particularly angry, because it could have a suppression effect. Let's see, what else do we have here? In the chat from the kits. Anything here? Again, Kitland M reminding us of something that Justin Trudeau told us. They don't want to be heard. They want to be obeyed. Trudeau's words are still true, especially those separatists, eh? Danielle Smith, you promised us. This was not the promise. You dealt from behind the deck. We own you. We run you. We're coming for you. You are the next Jason Kenney. Get ready. It's happening. It's already on. The call is out. You do realize that at the moment, within the entire Canadian conservative movement, this launches a civil war, right? The allegedly conservative movement. You got the separatists who want Alberta to actually be an independent country, fighting the people posing as separatists who just want Alberta to be subsumed into the United States, versus federalists, real, and then of convenience, like Pierre Poilievre, who now claims, after saying nothing for weeks, that he will fight on the side of Canada. He must be really, but he made this statement before Danielle Smith made her announcement. I hope that they consulted, or else he must be really pissed that he put that much political capital out there, because he is representing a relatively more separatist area. Saying that he would go out there and support Canada, while Danielle Smith brings up this type of question. That's a bit messy. We'll see. I have a feeling that Pierre won't be fighting all that hard, especially since, the vote for separation, the vote here against Canada staying together doesn't actually lead to a vote, doesn't lead to any process that could ensure that Alberta secedes, at least not an instant one as a result of the vote. It just creates another process with another vote. So he might all of a sudden decide, well, he doesn't need to campaign all that hard because, well, Canada isn't really at risk at the moment. Jeez. Let's see. Do we have anything else here from the kits here? Kit Mo, Canada's poised to become an economic superpower in the next 5 to 10 years. Things are happening fast. Yeah, Alberta and the United States definitely don't want that. At least the current American administration. Mo again saying the cons have no answer for Prime Minister Mark Carney, who does not take the bait. It'd be interesting to see how Prime Minister Mark Carney responds to that, because I'm sure somebody's going to, if I was an intrepid journalist, I'd be asking him, it seems that Danielle Smith has just put your pipeline to the pipeline implementation agreement at risks and has driven away investment, making it very unlikely that this project will commence in 2027. You said that the window is open now, and one of the reasons that we have to act now with speed and alacrity is because that moment, that window will not be open forever. Window that even the president of the International Energy Agency, it is the IEA, yes it is, has said that there's an opportunity for Canada, but we need to jump on it really, really quickly. This doesn't help with that. Are you still going to pursue this pipeline to the west, or are you maybe looking going north through Churchill, or is this just now a project that we need to abandon? Because this referendum, particularly a referendum that might provoke another referendum and keep this going, not going for 6 months, but a year to a year and a half. That definitely makes it such that construction will not begin in 2027, and that the window before it's operational becomes too far away from the opportunity. Do we just give up on this and spend the 34 billion, let's say, minimum, given the last one, that we are probably all going to have to pay to have this happen, because it doesn't look like there's going to be any proponent, certainly not by July 1st. Now, unless it is the government of Alberta as a crown corporation doing it, which is supposed to be against the rules. It's supposed to be an independent proponent leading this. Whether or not we have to end up doing that, well, if we've got $34 billion now in today's dollars with overrun, so let's say 60 to spend, maybe we should just skip this part and spend them on the renewables and detach ourselves, gain a little more independence from this volatile source of energy. Are you considering that now, Prime Minister? I'm sure he's not going to be happy to be asked these questions, whether or not he has to give up on that portion of Canada becoming an economic superpower, because she was not able to think of anything else but herself. We'll see. We will see. I have a feeling that the Prime Minister, if the Prime Minister was the type of person who would throw ketchup against a wall, there might be some ketchup running down the wall right now. Ah, very good. Let's see, what else do we have here? Any more stuff from you here, Kits and Cubs? Right. Comment from Kit Saucy here. Well, like 14 idiots in Alberta want to separate. Trump and his administration want to take advantage. However, that's not really a new thing. Manifest destiny was never off the table. Indeed. Some people here with some interesting takes that make me wonder, well, everybody can have a take. The question is yours informed? The answer to that question for certain takes that I'm reading here in the chat would be dubious. Kit, J Jinx here, 2K10, saying this is their last gap. It would seem so. It would seem so. Kit Linda going, I cannot wait until she does the press availability today. Yeah, indeed. I like I said, I really am looking forward to Mark Carney's. Kit Linda also saying, Seppies makes them sound like cute fish. They don't deserve a nickname. Point taken. Point taken. Oh my God. Let's see, what else do we have here in the chats? I think that's pretty much everything for now. All right. So that's the Danielle Smith part of this. I'm sure that there's going to be more fallout over the next couple of days, and we will be monitoring that. However, since we have a little bit of time with us, I wanted to touch on a couple of other stories, uh, briefly ish here. Um, one of them is one that made me smile as soon as I saw it, because as you know, Kits and Cubs, we have some friends. Kit Scott here. Kendrick says, to be transparent, I'm not from Canada. I'm interested in your politics, though. Well, welcome. Welcome. Pull up and log. Make yourself comfy. Hopefully, you will find interesting stuff here, and that we'll be able to share. But yes, we are more than happy to have friends from elsewhere join us. Everyone is welcome. Let's see what else here. Okay. Here is the thing that made me a little happy. As you know, the United States tried to issue some pressure on us by announcing that it was pulling out of the Canada-US Defense Board. This is obviously to hand the Conservatives an issue and make it seem like the Prime Minister is failing us on defense and destroying our relationship with the United States. Of course, nothing could be further than the truth. Well, in an interesting move, because I had noticed it and it made me giggle, but I realized after watching the show again for quality that I actually never got back to the thing that made me laugh. So figured I would bring it to you today because in this game, again, international poker, where everybody is cheating by sliding people some cards under the table. The United States basically said, "Oh yeah, okay, well, here, uh, we're pulling out of this defense board," and Canada turned around and said, "Okay, yes, 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 I see, I see your raise of pulling yourself out of the defense board, thus trying to meddle in our affairs and to create some discord here. And uh, we see you. Bold move indeed. And we raise you one of these. This is surely going to make the United States um, extremely happy. Canada taps General Jenny Carignan for NATO's top military chair. Murray Brewster from CBC. The Liberal government is nominating Canada's top military commander to be the next chair of the NATO Military Committee when the post becomes vacant next year. Defense Minister David McGuinty announced the candidacy of General Jenny Carignan on Wednesday and said she'll continue in her current role until next year. An election for the post will be held in September. Imagine if she wins. Oh, Canadian, French, and female. She's to DI for. Hegseth must be cursing that blue streak. The current chair, Admiral Giuseppe Cavodragoni of the Italian Navy, is expected to finish his term next summer. That's a cool name, by the way. Admiral Giuseppe Cavodragoni. Dragoni serves as the senior military advisor to NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte and is the principal conduit for all military advice from the chiefs of defense to the 32 NATO member countries. Oh, gee, what a terrible thing that would be for the United States if the principal conduit for all military advice from the chiefs of defense to the 32 member countries happened to be Canadian at this particular time in our history. Gee, the Europeans would be so devastated to help us present that, especially since we're like so close together with the SAFE program and all that kind of stuff. The chair position was last held by Canadian retired General Ray Hainaut in the early 2000s. Carignan has been Canada's chief of the defense staff since the summer 2024, and while there's no fixed term, the position is usually held for 3 years. McGuinty said Canada's nomination reflects its enduring commitment to the Western Military Alliance, just as the U.S. is trying to pretend that we are not committed enough to the defense thing. Quote, Canada remains unwavering in its commitment to NATO, the minister said in a statement. General Carignan is an exceptional military leader whose experience, judgment, and deep commitment to Allied collaboration make her an outstanding candidate to serve as the next chair of the NATO Military Committee. The position is different from that of Supreme Allied Commander, who is responsible for the overall direction and conduct of all NATO military operations. That post is usually held by an American general. All of the chiefs of defense staff for NATO nations are currently meeting in Brussels, and the alliance's foreign ministries. No, let's try that again. All of the chiefs of defense staff for NATO nations are currently meeting in Brussels, and the alliance's foreign ministers are due to meet this week in Sweden. The move comes as NATO wrestles with political friction and fears in Europe that the United States is preparing to draw down. I'm having trouble speaking today. The move comes as NATO wrestles with political friction and fears in Europe that the United States is preparing to draw down its presence. So yeah, just a little slide in there. Yeah. Pull yourself off the board. Oh, did we tell you that we are recommending a French female for this big position here at NATO? Oh no, we forgot to mention that. Oh, silly yes. Oops, butterfingers. Listen, nobody does passive aggressive and smug and petty like a Canadian. That's all I'm gonna say on that one. But that one is chef's kiss. Oh my word. Jeez. Uh, another thing, little tidbit of news that came about, which is a little interesting here, is something outgoing Governor General did. Mary Simon, on her way out, decided that there were two recipients of the Order of Canada who warranted being stripped their honors. This is May 15th by Sarah Sears of CBC. Governor General Mary Simon has approved the termination of appointment to the Order of Canada for two former honorees, one of whom was convicted of child sexual assault and another who was sanctioned for collusion and corruption. Peter Dalglish was made a member of the Order of Canada in 2016 for his humanitarian work. He founded Street Kids International, which aimed to give vocational training to homeless youth. In 2019, Dalglish was convicted in Nepal and sentenced to 16 years in prison after being found guilty of sexually assaulting two boys, ages 11 and 14. Jacques Lamarre, chief executive officer with Canadian engineering giant SNC-Lavalin until 2009, was originally invested as a member of the Order of Canada in 2005. Earlier this year, l'Ordre des ingénieurs du Québec, that's the self-regulating body governing engineers in the province, stripped Lamarre of his license and imposed a $75,000 fine after a disciplinary council found him guilty of collusion and corruption. According to the decision, that included paying millions of dollars to Sadi Gaddafi, son of former Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi. The termination announcements are posted in Friday's edition of the Canada Gazette, with the order signed by the Governor General in April. The news comes the same day Mary Simon oversaw her final Order of Canada honors ceremonies as Vice-Regal. Louise Arbour will be installed as Canada's 31st Governor General on June 8th. The Office of the Secretary to the Governor General would not comment on the specifics of these terminations, but said they were recommended by the Advisory Council for the Order of Canada. In a statement to CBC News, Rita Hall called the revocation of an honor, quote, an extraordinary measure taken when an honoree, quote, has acted in a manner inconsistent with the standard of conduct expected of members of this society, including criminal conviction or sanctioning by a professional order. Removal from the Order of Canada is rare. Among others who have been stripped of the honor are media baron Conrad Black, musician Buffy St. Marie, and theater mogul Garth Drabinsky. Speaking of those types of moves and advisory councils and things of the like, there is also an announcement with regard to nominations for the Supreme Court of Canada. This out on May 19th. The Prime Minister, Mark Carney, announced that the chair and members of the Independent Advisory Board for the Supreme Court of Canada judicial appointments have been named. These individuals will identify candidates to fill the upcoming Supreme Court. So there's basically, this is an advisory board to identify candidates to fill up the upcoming Supreme Court of Canada vacancy that will be created by the upcoming retirement of Justice Sheila Martin on May 30th, 2026. The Independent Advisory Board includes Maureen McTeer, I believe that's Joe Clark's wife. I'm not sure if they're still together. If not, Riel Bellegarde, Amy Kraft, Justin E. Kingston, Marie-Pierre Lavoie, the Honorable J. Michael McDonald, Justin Robichaud, King's Counsel, and Laura Spitz. The members of the Independent Advisory Board were selected for their expertise, integrity, and distinguished service across Canada's legal, academic, and public institutions. Together, they bring diverse perspectives and experiences, including regional and linguistic representation, that will support a rigorous, transparent, and merit-based process for identifying the most qualified candidates for appointment to the Supreme Court of Canada. The Independent Advisory Board will review applications received through the Office of the Commissioner for Federal Judicial Affairs to identify candidates who are jurists of the highest caliber, bilingual, and representative of the diversity of our country. They will then submit a short list of candidates to the Prime Minister for consideration. Applications from qualified candidates were accepted until Monday, April 27, 2026. They were open to all qualified applicants from Western Canada and Northern Canada in recognition of the Convention of Regional Representation. So that took place as well. Seems here that the Prime Minister also recently spoke with the Chancellor of Germany, Friedrich Merz, and the Prime Minister of Jonas Gahr Store. And it says here that building on the progress made during their previous meetings in Bardufoss, Norway in March, the leaders discussed areas of cooperation and global challenges. As close NATO allies, the leaders outlined priorities for the upcoming NATO summit, including strengthening Euro-Atlantic security in the face of ongoing threats. Prime Minister Carney underscored Canada's efforts to establish the Defence Security and Resilience Bank to provide multi-year low-cost financing for defence, security, and resilience initiatives. The leaders reaffirmed their joint support for a just and lasting peace in Ukraine, backed by robust security guarantees, and agreed to increase pressure on Russia to negotiate. It seems that Russia is their tune might be changing, with Putin musing aloud about the war soon ending, and him allegedly spending a lot of the time in a bunker. Because there are increased fears that someday soon, sooner than Putin would like, that perhaps Swan Lake will be playing on state TV. Just saying. It seems that he might not be as confident anymore that he could win, especially considering that Ukraine is making more and more incursions into Moscow specifically. And the Russians are burning through troops at a rate way faster than they can bring them in. And the financial thing may not last. And even though Xi in China is supporting Russia in certain ways, Xi is also quite happy if Russia doesn't fully succeed. Chairman Xi is in a good position actually right now. He's watching Russia deplete itself and watching the United States deplete itself in Iran while he's got the hands in the back of his head and his feet up on the desk. And learning a lot from Ukraine about what may or may not be possible in Taiwan. Trump came back with an order for 200 Boeing jets. If I was China, I probably wouldn't be investing that much in Boeing jets right now, just saying. But that's not actually a really big order. And Putin, even though he got more things when he went to visit a couple of days after Trump, he's not exactly getting it either. So China looking like it's sitting pretty right now at the moment. They discussed the conflict in the Middle East, emphasizing the imperative of de-escalation, a robust ceasefire, and a free and secure access through the Strait of Hormuz. The leaders look forward to the FIFA World Cup 2026, which begins next month and will be co-hosted by Canada. The leaders agreed to remain, everybody, in close contact. So that happened. A couple of little tidbits of news that you need to be aware of, kids and cubs. There was a very important legal decision for people who have been victims of or subjected to intimate partner violence. A landmark decision, actually, um, because something happened that doesn't happen every day in law. Basically, a new tort, a new class of torts has been created. According to Peter Zimonjic of CBC News, and this is very, very important news. This is some of the most important news, actually, if we're talking about news that can affect people's lives directly, that we've had in a while. In a landmark decision, the Supreme Court of Canada has created a new tort of intimate partner violence that will allow people to sue for damages when they have been subject to abuse in a relationship. Quote, intimate partner violence is a pernicious social ill deserving of the full attention of the law, the summary of the majority judgment says in defining intimate partner violence. Quote, best understood, it is not confined to conduct that inflicts physical or psychological injury, but includes all abusive conduct by which one intimate partner coerces and controls the other, thus depriving them of their autonomy. The 6-3 decision further defines the new tort as covering acts of physical violence, isolation tactics, manipulation, humiliation, surveillance, economic abuse, sexual coercion, and intimidation. Torts are not criminal laws that allow the prosecution of individuals or companies, but are part of civil law and are designed to allow victims of physical or financial harm to seek financial compensation and deter conduct. The Supreme Court ruling is tied to the case of Kuldeep Ahluwalia, a Punjabi woman who met and married Amrit Ahluwalia in India in 1999 before immigrating to Canada in the early 2000s. The ruling summary explains that Amrit Ahluwalia abused his wife over their 16-year marriage through, quote, physical assaults, humiliation, intimidation, and conduct intending to inflict emotional distress. Quote, the husband's conduct had coerced and controlled the wife in order to break her will and condition her to obey him from the beginning of their marriage, the summary says. During divorce proceedings initiated by Amrit, Kuldeep agreed to the divorce and requested damages for the abuse she suffered. She was awarded $50,000 in compensation, another $50,000 in aggravated damages, and then a final $50,000 for family violence. That last award of $50,000 was awarded on the back of a tort the Superior Court of Ontario created during the case and named family violence. On appeal, the Ontario Court of Appeal ruled that there was no need to create a new tort for family violence because existing law was already sufficient to protect partners from intimate violence. The Court of Appeal struck down the $50,000 payment for family violence, and Kuldeep appealed her case to the Supreme Court of Canada, which issued their ruling on Friday. Writing for the majority Supreme Court Justice Nicholas Kazirer, I don't know how to pronounce his last name actually, said Friday that there was additional injury flowing from Mr. Ahluwalia's coercive control for which general compensatory and aggravated damages were necessary above and beyond that associated with the existing torts. Kazirer said that where existing torts fail in this case is that they do not adequately, quote, remedy the specific wrong to dignity, autonomy, and equality that intimate partner violence creates. While Kazirer agreed with the Ontario Court of Appeal decision in part that the tort of family violence created by the Superior Court should not be recognized, he said failing to recognize the specific nature of coercive control and family violence in intimate relationships was an error of law. Quote, this reflects a failure to consider coercive control in intimate partnerships as distinctly wrongful conduct and the distinct harm that arises from it. Respectfully, this was an error of law to which no defense was owed. Writing for the dissenting justices, Justice Mahmoud Jamal described intimate partner violence in Canada as an epidemic that demands a response from the justice system that is, quote, both compassionate and principled. Quote, the need for judicial restraint is especially pronounced when a court is asked to recognize a wholly new tort, Jamal wrote. That exercise is subject to clear preconditions identified in the jurisprudence. Among them is the principle that courts should not recognize a new tort when adequate alternative remedies for the wrong already exist. And the article does have an addition at the end that says if you are in immediate danger or fear for your safety or that of others around you, please call 911. If you're affected by family or intimate partner violence, you can look for help through crisis lines and local support services. And it then directs one to a list of those. And since it has been done in the article, I will do it here in the chat by including a link here. There you go. And there are other mental health resources. Canada's Suicide Crisis Helpline. You can reach it by calling or texting 988. The Kids Help phone is 1-800-668-6868, or you can text 686868. And there's live chat counseling on their website, Kids and Cubs. So for those of you who might be looking for it or know of someone who might be looking for it. Here I am going to include it in the chat. There's the link to the Kids Help Phone. Canadian Association for Suicide Prevention, search by province or territory for suicide crisis services. And here, whoops, or suicide bereavement and mental health support. There is supposed to be, it's supposed to link to someplace, but the link is actually not active. And then finally, there's a guide from the Center for Addiction and Mental Health, which outlines how to talk about suicide with someone you are worried about. And there is a link to that as well from the Canadian Mental Health Association, and include that as well in the links. So it's there for you to consult if you should need it, or to refer to someone if you know someone who can need it. But here, it seems that coercive control and family violence in particular have been noted by the Supreme Court offenses, that if you are in that situation and going through diverse proceedings, you can ask for compensation now for that behavior. Hopefully, once it starts getting around that, that slap, that hit, that not allowing someone access to their bank account, stuff of the like, can result in having an extra $150,000 coming out of your own pocket. Maybe that will deter a few people from going down that route. Or at least, if not, if when somebody manages to get out, ensuring that they have a slightly more comfortable life afterwards. So yeah, that came down. Let's see, what else do I have for you on these quick hits? Because there's a couple of things. Of announcements of projects as well that are very important. The first one here is there's an Eagle project that has received some funding or some go ahead, according to the Canadian Press. This is, and it says that Agnico Eagle Mines Limited is going ahead with a $2.4 billion US redevelopment of its Hope Bay Gold Mine project in Nunavut, where it plans to continue an aggressive exploration program. Agnico Eagle Chief Executive Amar Al-Jundi said Tuesday the construction and redevelopment of Hope Bay will support the long-term sustainability of its Nunavut operations. Quote, "We are also proud that this investment will contribute to the economic development of Northern Canada and enable meaningful long-term economic participation for Indigenous organizations and partners, including the Kitik Meot Inuit Association," Al-Jundi said in a statement. The company said the initial capital cost of the project includes reconstruction of the processing facility, the addition of 37 megawatt diesel generator power plant, mobile equipment, upgrades to the tailings facility, and about 33 kilometers of underground development. Once complete, Agnico Eagle estimates the annual gold production from the mine at between 400,000 and 435,000, as with an initial mine life of 11 years and upside potential. The project is expected to create more than 2,000 direct and indirect jobs and meaningful economic participation for Indigenous organizations and partners, including the Kitikmeot Inuit Association. The federal government has committed $25 million for the Hope Bay Wind project led by Inuit-owned Kitikmeot Tuglik Limited Partnership, which will add 4 megawatts of wind power and 4 megawatts of battery storage on the site's power system. Federal Natural Resources Minister Tim Hodgson welcomed the project. Quote, "The Arctic is the place where natural resource wealth, Indigenous leadership, national security, and economic growth and prosperity come together," he said in a statement. Agnico Eagle acquired TMAC Resources Incorporated, the previous owner and operator of the Hope Bay Gold Mine, in 2021 and suspended production in 2022 to focus on the property's exploration potential. The Hope Bay project is located in the Kitikmeot region of Western Nunavut, about 160 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle. So, a first project here. And then there happens to be another one that was announced. And this one, whoops, Let's try that. Clicked on the wrong thing there. This one is brought to us by Bob Weber of the Canadian Press. And it says here, the long-awaited and Arctic deep water port and road connecting rich mineral resources to international shipping routes, as well as offering the Navy. The screen just changed on for no reason whatsoever. Let's try that again. A long-awaited project that would see an Arctic deepwater port and road connecting rich mineral resources to international shipping routes, as well as offering the Navy another northern beachhead, has been revived. The proposed Grays Bay port and road, which has been a northern dream for more than a decade, has refiled an environmental assessment with regulatory authorities in Nunavut, restarting a process that has been stalled for years. The massive project on Canada's central Arctic coast in the middle of the Northwest Passage could open up crucial mineral resources, said Brendan Bell of the West Kitikmeot Resources Corporation, which is leading the effort and is a majority owned by the Kitikmeot Inuit Association, a birthright corporation created by the Nunavut land claim. Quote, every country is intent on securing a supply of critical minerals, Bell said. The project would include a deepwater port with 2 wharfs designed to load large vessels of the post-Panamax class and an adjacent small craft harbor for community use. It would also have an airstrip, tank farm, transloading facilities, utilities, maintenance shops, warehousing, accommodation, administrative offices, and areas for ore concentrate storage and handling. In its first phase, it would include a 230-kilometer all-weather road into the heart of the mineral-rich Slave geological province. That road would connect to ice roads to Yellowknife, making it the first road link from the central Arctic coast to southern Canada. Wow, that would be a big deal. Indeed. There are at least 3 large deposits of copper, zinc, gold, and silver that would be made economic by access to tidewater, said Bell. Many other deposits have been found in the vast region, which encompasses a large area of the central Arctic. Quote, we've had a typical chicken and egg problem, Bell said. World-class discoveries of high grade are made, but they haven't been expanded to understand the scale because there's no infrastructure. We believe with the new momentum behind the infrastructure, you'll see a lot of expansion of those resources. Northern Premiers have been calling for investment in such a project for years. They renewed that call at a recent meeting of Western Premiers. Bell said the need for commodities such as copper in an increasingly electrified world, along with Inuit buy-in for a project that could impact crucial caribou migration routes, and the growing viability of shipping through Arctic waters are factors behind the project's revival. The Canadian Infrastructure Bank has contributed $3 million. Quote, it's never been truer that all levels of government, all the public and private sector, and Inuit leadership all see critical need to invest in our northern infrastructure, said Erin Corey, the bank's chief executive. Bell said there's no recent estimate on the project's cost, but he suggested it would be around $1 billion. Even under our best case scenario, the project is years away. Its environmental assessment is now before the Nunavut Planning Commission, with a review likely to be conducted by the Nunavut Impact Review Board. Bell says permits are likely to take until 2027, with construction beginning in 2030. So lots going on in the Kitikmeot region here. 2 big announcements for them. And then I'm going to guess that there's also a take on this that comes directly from the Government of Canada, not filtered through media. And it says here that the Honorable Tim Hodgson, Minister of Energy and Natural Resources, announced more than $55 million in federal funding for 2 projects that would strengthen the Arctic infrastructure, support export diversification, and help build resilient Canadian mineral supply chains through the First and Last Mile Fund. And I have no idea what it particularly is, but it's a fund that will provide up to $1.5 billion in federal funding until 2030 to support strategic mining and infrastructure projects that are key to developing Canada's critical mineral supply chains and getting critical minerals to the market. The First and Last Mile Fund subsumes and builds on the Critical Minerals Infrastructure Fund with an expanded mandate to support more activities at the upstream and midstream segments of critical minerals values chains. It will provide funding for critical minerals development projects, including infrastructure enabling mining and processing, transportation and energy, as well as mine site development, and Indigenous engagement, participation, and capacity building related to critical minerals development projects funded under the First and Last Mile Fund. So that's what it is about. And here it is. The 2 projects that we mentioned are the ones that will be funded here. And And in addition to those two projects, Minister Hodgson also announced a $5 million investment in Glacis Technologies Incorporated to support a low emissions alternative to diesel for mine heating and ventilation, which could reduce emissions and cut costs of northern mines. The project will pilot at B2 Gold, a gold mine in western Kitimiot region of Nunavut. The investments build on Government Canada's broader efforts outlined in the 2026 Spring Economic Update to advance nation-building infrastructure, strengthen critical minerals supply chains, and invest in our Arctic security and sovereignty. So there you Tim Hodgson says, after referring Grays Bay Road and Port to the Major Projects Office, we are now delivering on strategic investments to unlock its nation-building potential. This project will strengthen Canada's Arctic sovereignty, unlock critical minerals, improve access and affordability for the region, and create lasting prosperity for Northerners and Indigenous communities. That's what building Canada strong looks like. So that was a big piece in terms of projects that are coming and deals that have been made. And then I believe we had another one, and this one is pretty significant, actually. If I'm not mistaken, it is a deal that was cut with an airline, if I am not mistaken, Asian-based airline. I think an airline that was based in Malaysia specifically. I think it's called AirAsia. For a very significant, at least for us, plane purchase. And I'm looking for the article right now because it was announced a while ago here. This was something that was announced on May 6th, according to Christopher Reynolds of the Canadian Press. Airbus Canada has signed a deal to supply AirAsia with a massive order of 150 of its Canadian-made A220 jets in a multi-billion-dollar coup for Quebec's aviation industry. The agreement with low-cost airline, the largest single firm order for the narrow-body planes assembled north of Montreal in Mirabel in the manufacturer's history. The 300 is expected to roll off the line in the first quarter of 2028, said AirAsia CEO Tony Fernandez. For Lars Wagner, who heads the commercial aircraft division at Airbus, the deal underscores Quebec's role as a key hub in global aviation. The French-owned company bought a majority of Bombardier's beleaguered C-Series program in 2018 and rebranded it as the A220. Quote, government support is the backbone of the innovation we see in this hangar, and we don't take this for granted, Wagner said. Prime Minister Mark Carney, who spoke at the announcement Wednesday, framed the deal as an example of the benefits that flow from diversifying trade beyond the United States. The agreement strengthens links between Canada and Southeast Asian countries, he said, recalling a meeting he had with AirAsia CEO Tony Fernandez in the Malaysian capital of Kuala Lumpur last fall. Quote, we shared a vision of deepening ties between those countries that, in this crisis that we're still living through, are choosing to build in the face of adversity. Countries that have the confidence to open up, to link their economies, to invest in their workers, to move forward, not turn back, Carney told the audience at the Mirabel facility. Thank you for the trust you're placing in Canadian workers in Quebec in Mirabel. You're choosing the best at exactly the right time, the Prime Minister told Fernandez on Wednesday. Airbus has faced production challenges at its Montreal area plant over the past few years, struggling to churn out more than 7 jets per month on average, half of the threshold needed to break even. The French company has pointed to a range of supplier problems, citing shortages that run the gamut from engines to wings. Quote, the jury's still out as to whether the Canadian product that Carney's so gushing about is able to be produced at a rate that is profitable for the manufacturers, said John Graddock, who teaches aviation management at McGill University. Airbus Canada CEO Guillaume Chevasson told reporters Wednesday the program remained, quote, a few miles away from profitability. The aim is to produce 13 planes per month by early 2028. All 150 AirAsia planes will be assembled at the Mirabel site, Chevasson said. The facility now employs nearly 5,000 workers, 2,500 of them hired in the past 4 years. Quote, in addition to showcasing us on the international stage, the aerospace industry has the power to bring new money into our economy while providing a livelihood for tens of thousands of workers, said Eric Rancourt, who represents the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers Union in Quebec. After the announcement, Carney and Wagner helped AirAsia CEO into a Montreal Canadiens jersey after the Prime Minister presented Fernandez with a model plane decked out in its signature red and white livery with AirAsia.com emblazoned on the side. Risks remain for government, Quebec, which now owns 25% of Airbus Canada, has written off its initial $1 billion US investment in the C Series as valueless. In October, it reduced by half the estimated value of a subsequent cash injection to $300 million US. Given those difficulties, Western University professor Geraint Harvey says the announcement comes, quote, as great news for the government and workers in Quebec. Quote, 150 aircrafts is a massive order. It is also an interesting move given the situation in the Middle East and the current volatility of fuel prices and the impact on commercial airlines, Harvey said, noting that many airlines are slashing flight schedules rather than expanding. AirAsia CEO seemed to anticipate the point. Quote, people will be wondering why we are buying so many planes during this latest crisis, but crises are an opportunity to make bold decisions and to go out there and be aggressive. And wars will not go on forever, he said, referring to the US-Israeli attack on Iran that resulted in the effective blockade of the Strait of Hormuz and soaring jet fuel prices. The list price for the A2300 is $91.5 million US. The parties did not specify a price tag for the purchase, though it wouldn't be unusual for the Airbus to pay less than the list price on such a large order. Mr. Fernandez over at AirAsia must have gotten a heck of a deal, nowhere near the manufacturer's suggested retail price, Granick said. The A22300 carries between 100 and 160 passengers on flights of up to 6,700 kilometers, or about 7 hours. Some 501 A220s had been delivered. Some 501 A220s had been delivered to about 25 operators across the globe as of March 30th, Airbus said. So again, another big deal for Canada that Mark Carney is signing, and that his personal Rolodex or contact list is definitely contributing to make happen. Let's see, do I have anything else for you today? I believe I might be close to the end of everything that I had set up to tell you today, kits and cups. So, unless there's something else that I will slide in near the end, I believe that this is the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning. Hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember that sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. And well, if you share our content, it really means the world to us. Again, as the recent throttling and whatnot that we had, the solution is to share the content. So all our links, if you have the opportunity, we really do appreciate you doing so. It helps us more than you know. And again, we are happy to say that things seem to be back to normal rates. With, as I've seen, the last 3 episodes that we've done, once the shows were over, the view counts were higher than some of the episodes that we had in the time that we were strangled, that have been out in circulation now for 7 to 9 days. So clearly, there was indeed something happening. So please share our material. It really matters to us that you do. And also, if you can, kits and cubs, scan this QR code because that will bring you to our YouTube page where you can click on like, share, and subscribe. And when you do that, that helps us with the algorithm. Also, if you happen to be watching our show, not live, but on your phone within 7 days of it airing, if you swipe left on the comment section, you will have the opportunity to grant us some hype points. You can only do that 3 times per week, but hype points allow smaller shows like ours to have more, to be more visible among a greater audience. So that helps us a lot. Thank you for everything that you do to get the word out. But again, share the content. That's really what helps the most. If you would like to help us in other ways, let's say financially, because we do incur some costs to bring this show to you, we would be very happy to receive an enthusiastic expression of encouragement on your part by scanning this QR code, which will bring you to our coffee page where you can buy your favorite beaver a nice mug of hot chocolate to say, Atta Beaver, you've done a good job this week. Or Mr. Grizzly, a cup of dark coffee saying, Atta Grizzly, you've done a great job this week. We definitely would need your support. Coffee and hot chocolate is essentially our staff. They help us get through the research and writing and curating and hosting and production and promoting phases of everything that we do. So, and our staff keeps on disappearing with us. on us. They're not particularly loyal. So we need you to help us hire more staff. I don't know where they go. um, so if you scan that QR code, it will bring you to our coffee page, coffeeko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word, where you can make a one-time or recurring donation to us. Thank you so very much. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube, we have super chats, memberships, and stickers. And if you're doing the Buy Canadian thing, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is our email address, and you can send us a direct transfer. That way your transaction remains completely Canadian, and we get 100% of your donation there, so your Beaver buck goes a little further. Again, thank you to Kit Tavi G, who the other day sent us a lovely expression of encouragement, which is definitely being put to good use. So there you go, kits and cubs. We appreciate all of your help. Every single cent matters, of course. Sorry, there's something I was trying to bring up on the other screen there that was looking a little weird. So we thank you for all of your support. It means the world to us, and thank you. If it wasn't for you, we definitely would not be able to keep going. Kits and cubs, if you want to write to us, because all your contributions to the show do not have to be financial, let us know what you think about the show, how we could do better, offer us some guest suggestions for the interview project. Also, if you have any questions about the show or about politics that you would like us to answer, please put them there. We would be more than happy to do that. So truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is our email address for that, or you can reach us on our socials at TrueEager, at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge, also on the Jitter, True North Eager Beaver on Facebook, our original home. We have the Damn Fam Discord that I'm sure somebody will put a link in there to keep the conversation going when we don't have a live show going on. We have our Beaver Bites Substack that you can register for. Also our coffee page, because we post stuff there. We're in many places. And of course, Kit Uncover runs the show's Instagram. So all those places you can look and find contact with us to keep the conversation going and to remain informed. So thank you for all of that. And all the ways that you stay connected to us. We read everything that you write, even though we're not able to answer everyone. Let's see, what else do we have here for you? Because democracy is something that you do. We have the two petitions that we have been promoting over the last little while. First one, ourcommons.ca petition. Ooh, I don't know what happened there with the screen. I just seem to have disappeared for a second. But there we go. It seems I'm back. Our Commons petition 7, which calls on the House to invoke its authority under Section 53 of the Supreme Court Act to refer the constitutionality of Alberta Justice Statutes Amendment Act 2025 to the Supreme Court, and to direct the Foreign Influence Transparency Commissioner to immediately investigate the meetings between the Alberta Prosperity Project and the Trump administration. We had 23,747 signatures yesterday on the show. It is now 23,858. So please share this with your friends, your family, everyone. Encourage them to sign, and do remember that this is a two-step process. When you sign, you will get an email verification that you have to click on, and that is what guarantees that your signature is actually been noted. We also have our Commons petition E7395, which calls upon the House of Commons to stop funding Stornoway as the private residence for the leader of the official opposition. And that one was at 11,239 signatures yesterday. Just a couple more, 11,255. So let's get a little more action on that one. And here we go again. There is the link for you. If you are in Alberta, you have a day of protest on the 29th. If you are in Ontario, you have a day of protest on the 30th. The two most corrupt premiers in Canadian history most likely tested on the same few days, one a day after another, and get out there and let your voice be heard. And of course, if you are in British Columbia and you are a member of the BC Conservative Party, you have a leadership race going on for the leader, and of course, leadership race going on for the leader. I mean, who else would it be, right? Uh, talking on the fly sometimes, you say obvious things that are a little weird. But yes, you are voting for the leader. The vote is officially taking place on the 30th. If you are mailing your ballots in and stuff like that, please make sure that they get in on time to be counted. And I believe that is all I have on that front for you today. So, kids and cubs, it can be a tough world. Oh, no, no, no. Words of wisdom. Words of wisdom. Um, I know a lot of people are really upset by what Danielle Smith is pulling here and is doing. If you are in Alberta, please demand some clarity from the UCP about what the referendum question will actually be, what will actually be voted on, and how those votes will be interpreted, because you need to know that with certainty before you vote if you're going to cast an informed vote. And otherwise, just breathe, because there is many opportunities for this to not go well for all those who are flying too close to the sun. This could be the beginning of the end of Danielle Smith's political career as an elected politician, and that certainly couldn't come none too soon. But hopefully, RCMP, CSIS, where the hell are you? Are looking at all of these things going on and are building up a nice juicy case to maybe remove the allegedly seditionist elements from being factors in our society. People that have shown that they are definitely not responsible enough to operate in a normally normally functioning society. Maybe there will be some legal action. Hopefully, because last thing that we need to be doing is going, well, they haven't crossed yet, or we don't want to provoke people by doing it. No, the people that are provoked are going to be provoked regardless. So do the right thing. If the charges and arrests need to be, then let's have them sooner rather than later, and rather than not doing them sooner rather than later for fear that we may provoke. There's absolutely nothing of positive social value that is created from them being permitted to keep on talking in the way that they are. So if laws are being broken, then let's deal with these people like laws are being broken. The same. Um, hey, it's not that we centrists and progressives have a problem with the law being applied when it needs to be, right? Um, we're not against law and order. We're against non-judicious application of law and order. There's a difference. Miss Shadika, Douglas, please write the Four Seasons and tell me if you think I'm right when I say you remind me of Colmar Domingo's character and his partner, who could be Alexu. Please watch the Four Seasons. Okay. I have no idea. I'm sorry. I'm going to look so uncool. I have no idea what the Four Seasons are. You'll have to give me a little more information, or I might need to look that up. But yeah, there you go. I have no idea. You might as well be speaking Greek. I have no idea. I'm not that hip, people. I'm too nerdy. I spent too much time my nose and too much time in political stuff that I'm missing all the cool arts and entertainment stuff. So I need your guidance. There. All right, kids and cubs. It's a new show. Tina Fey's in it. It's a company. Oh well, I love Tina Fey. So okay. Yeah, that right there might have convinced me, right there. Okay, so yeah, that's all we have. So kids and cubs, if I may ask you um, for a little audience participation on the count of three, could you please say, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock on 1, 2, and 3. Let me hear you. Oh, yay. That's the good stuff. Okay, okay, okay. I will do that for you. I just remembered that there is one thing that I did want to present that I had on the list for you. Not a very pleasant thing, unfortunately, because usually we try to end our shows on a positive note. But I will have it after we come back from the thing. And then I will still try to end somewhat on a positive note because ending on a downer is really not fun. But here you go, kits and cubs. You said it, and since you asked so nicely, here is a little cock-a-doodle-doo just for you. Yes, special delivery. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right. Hopefully, we are all back together. Yes, we are. The bit of news that is not great and should have Canadians rather upset. It comes to us courtesy of Israel because, as you know, there was a flotilla, and the I think it is the Minister of Defense Itamar Ben-Gvir uh, detained people on the flotilla that were trying to bring some help uh, to Gaza. And in that process, it would seem that people were mistreated and mocked and taunted by the um, very militant uh, member of Netanyahu's cabinet. Remember, it's a sort of coalition candidate cabinet of people that are even more far right, or that included among it people that are even more far right than Netanyahu himself. Uh, what happened there was so offensive to so many people that it would seem that a certain number of countries summoned their ambassadors for a little meeting. Canada being one of those nations because um, there were a certain number of Canadians that were involved in that. So I have a little up here from CBC News about this that I wanted to show. And yeah. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on here. Okay, uh, nothing happened here for some reason. I don't know why. Nothing is showing. Let me try that again. Um, Computer once again has decided to slow down impressively and near the end of the show, as it did the other day. So let's see if we can try that one more time, and maybe the screen will come up this time. There we go. And again, take a look at this very disturbing story. You see how long it's taken here? It's there we go.
Israel's ambassador to Canada over what it calls, quote, unacceptable treatment of detained Gaza flotilla activists. Backlash is growing over a video of Israel's national security minister taunting and threatening the activists. Itamar Ben-Gvir released the video on social media.
באו עם הרבה גאווה כגיבורים גדולים. תראי איך הם נראים עכשיו, תסתכלי. תראי איך הם נראים עכשיו.
In the video, Ben-Gvir tells bound and kneeling activists that they should go to prison for a very long time. The flotilla was attempting to breach Israel's blockade of Gaza to deliver food and medicine. It was intercepted by Israeli forces. The CBC's Cameron McIntosh tracking that story from Jerusalem. Cam, good to have you back here. So walk us through this video and what we're seeing.
Okay, so Angie, let's start off with this. Israeli forces today detaining about 450 activists on 50 different ships that were participating in this flotilla that was trying to reach Gaza with the intent of delivering aid and a broader attempt to draw attention to Israel's maritime blockade of Gaza, which has been in effect since 2007. Now let's bring up that video. Let's show this again. This was posted by the National Security Minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir. In it, you see him push down the head of one of the detainees. And he goes on to mock others. There's also shots in the video of detainees bound on an Israeli ship with the Israeli national anthem playing. Now, this is getting a lot of response. Let's start here with Israel, where the Foreign Affairs Minister, and keep in mind the Israeli government is made up of a coalition of several parties. All the ministers don't belong to the same party. But the Foreign Affairs Minister posting on X that Ben-Gvir's actions were disgraceful and damaging to Israel. Ben-Gvir then accused the Foreign Affairs Minister of being sympathetic to Hamas terrorists. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also denounced Ben-Gvir's actions, but went on to call the flotilla activists supporters of Hamas terrorists himself.
Cam, Canada is also reacting to this video along with many other countries. What are you hearing?
Yeah, so plenty of reaction to this internationally. Now, it's believed that the participants of this flotilla represent about 45 different countries. Global Affairs tells us they know of 12 Canadians that have been involved in this. All of them have been detained, but there really is no explanation so far as to what's happened to these Canadians. Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand says they're asking the Israeli ambassador for some answers.
What we've seen, including the video shared by Itamar Ben-Gvir, is deeply troubling and absolutely unacceptable. Canada has already imposed strict sanctions on Ben-Gvir, including asset freezes and a travel ban in response to his repeated incitement of violence. The protection of civilians and respect for human dignity must be upheld at all times.
So the Israeli ambassador being summoned in Ottawa, it's not the first time that's happened. As for other countries, the UK, France, Italy, all doing the same thing right now, among others. And there are plenty of questions, as I mentioned, about what is actually happening to the detainees right now. We are seeing some reports here in Israel that they will be transported to a prison. What we don't know is what kind of contact consular officials may or may not have had with them so far, and what the conditions of some of these detainees may be. Anita Anand, the Foreign Affairs Minister, when we asked her, said that she didn't have that information yet. Again, all questions for the Israeli ambassador in Ottawa.
All right, we'll be watching for further developments. CBC's Cameron McIntosh for us in Jerusalem. Cam, thank you so much for this.
All right, so definitely not away.
Well, the federal government will summon Israel's ambassador to Canada over what it calls, quote, unacceptable
Again, so
treatment
sorry,
of detained.
Kids and Cubs, taking a little while to move from screen to screen here, but here. Hopefully you can still hear me at the moment while this is taking forever to get back. There we go. So yeah, as you can see, the security guy has a long track record of this type of objectionable behavior, has been sanctioned by countries before, doing this type of thing, calling the foreign affairs minister of the own government of who he's a part some type of Hamas sympathizer, because this guy is so ridiculously extreme. 45 different nations have people that were affected. If you want to lose all of your allies and even more of your friends, this is exactly the time of shit you put. This is the type of shit you pull. So, yes, okay, we called the ambassador, but what more is going to happen? You even have Netanyahu going, oh, this is totally unacceptable. Yeah, but those people that were detained, they are Hamas terrorist supporters. But yeah, security minister, security official, no. These types of things don't reflect our values. The fuck they don't. The hell these actions do not reflect the values of the Netanyahu administration, not the Israeli people, not Israel, the Netanyahu administration, because this Ben Gvir guy has been in that position since day one. And even though he's been sanctioned multiple times, he's still there to be allowed to do that. If those actions did not represent your values, those actions represented your values on that day. But it seems those actions are definitely tracking rather perfectly. They're dovetailing rather nicely with the values that we are coming to associate with the Netanyahu administration. So I am hoping that there's more than just the summoning. But maybe we will not have to deal with this type of thing for long, because it would appear that there is some turmoil in the democracy in Israel, that the government might be falling apart, and that we might be having an election soon. According to The Guardian here. Says, is there a particular reporter, or is this just Michael Segalov in The Guardian? Israeli legislators took the first steps towards dissolving parliament and calling fresh nationwide elections. Leading left-wing Knesset member Yair Golan hailed it the beginning of the end of the worst government in Israel's history. Benjamin Netanyahu has spent 20 of the last 30 years as Israel's prime minister, the last 4 which have seen him helm a far-right coalition. Under the incumbent government, settlement building in the illegally occupied West Bank has accelerated, while many international humanitarian NGOs have been banned from the Palestinian territories. Following Hamas's killing of 1,200 Israelis on the 7th of October 2023, Netanyahu has orchestrated a campaign in Gaza, killing or injuring more than 10% of the population and flattening the strip in what the UN Commission has declared a genocide. Netanyahu remains on trial for 3 counts of corruption, and should he lose this election, those trials will continue. Much has changed since Israeli voters last went to the polls. Public support for Israel in both Western Europe and the US is at its lowest ever level. Israeli public opinion, meanwhile, has shifted further right. For today's first edition, I spoke to Dalia Scheindlin, a Tel Aviv-based political consultant and pollster who has worked on 9 Israeli election campaigns, about what is at stake and whether this vote may spell the end for Netanyahu. So yeah, it seems that there is a lack of trust here within the factions of the party. In power since 2022, Prime Minister Netanyahu's Likud is the largest parliamentary party, That said, Scheindlin explains no one expected his coalition government to last this long. He is backed by two ultra-nationalist religious fundamentalist parties and two ultra-Orthodox religious fundamentalist parties. Collectively, they hold 64 seats. For years, Scheindlin continues, Netanyahu's coalition government has been plagued by the same thorny question. Can it pass a law to guarantee the continued exemption of the most ultra-Orthodox young men from military service? This has long been divisive in Israel society, and yet the coalition has trudged along without result. To Netanyahu's coalition partners, this exemption law is of paramount importance. It has seen many governments collapse. This government repeatedly reached crisis point over it, said Scheindlin. On Wednesday, their coalition finally cracked. Netanyahu's partners said, "We don't trust this government to pass that legislation anymore." A vote to dissolve parliament received the backing of 110 out of 120 lawmakers. A 3-month pre-election run-up period is required by law. Late August is the earliest possible polling day, with a cutoff date of the 27th of October. Netanyahu remains the most popular potential PM, having topped the polls consistently since August 2024, but that's no guarantee of electoral victory. He is coming in strongest in almost all surveys, said Scheindlin, although with slight variations lately. Made up of 120 seats, the Knesset is elected every 4 years through nationwide proportional representation. Usually 30 to 40 parties compete, Scheindlin said. Cross the 3.25% vote share threshold and you enter parliament. No party in Israel's history has won a majority of 61 plus seats, so Netanyahu, like all those before him, relies on fragile coalitions. In all polling from the last 2 years, says Scheindlin, his coalition has been getting between 49 and 56 seats. If public opinion remains as it is, Netanyahu will fail to secure another majority. Scheindlin also points out the remaining opposition parties, which outnumber Netanyahu's bloc, aren't necessarily more progressive. Polling between 64 and 71 seats, these are dominated by what Israelis perceive to be moderate right, secular right, or semi-religious anti-Netanyahu parties. While Likud has remained steady at the top of opinion polls, the second-ranked party has shifted regularly. It's always a party that Israelis perceive as center or moderate right. In the 6 months before and after October 7, it was the party led by former senior minister Benny Gantz. Fortunes changed fast. That party is now polling way below the 3.2 threshold. The ever-changing, The ever-changing political landscape makes allegiances fluid and hard to follow. Gantz has now been usurped to second place by former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, though his new party, Together Israel, is not currently in the Knesset. Israelis view it as the moderate right-wing party, though Bennett came from the far right, said Scheindlin. Bennett has achieved this feat by joining forces with one political rival, Yair Lapid. A former PM, Lapid's past political persona was of a centrist, secular liberal. Israelis perceive Lapid to be left-wing because he was the last PM to publicly support a two-state solution in September 2022. He doesn't say that anymore, says Scheindlin. On the contrary, at the launch of their joint venture, Bennett declared, "We will safeguard the lands of our country and we will not hand over a single centimeter to the enemy." Lapid stood on stage with him. In some polls, Together Israel are 1 seat ahead of Netanyahu. In most, there are a small number of seats behind. There are plenty of challengers too. Former IDF Chief of Staff Gadi Eisenkot was polling at 6 seats just a few months ago. That's 13 to 15 now. He is bereaved, having lost his son and his nephew in the Gaza war. Avigdor Lieberman is also a longtime challenger to Netanyahu from the secular nationalist right. He gets 10 seats in most surveys. Today, there's a gap in the relative center after Yair Lapid joined forces with Naftali Bennett. Then you have the Democrats, a merger of two former left-wing parties. Most Israelis view them as very left-wing. Firm left-wingers view them as centrist. With policies focused on affordable housing, trade unions, and public services, they support a two-state solution and oppose Israelis' occupation of the West Bank. The Democrats are polling at about 10 seats. The two major Arab parties currently have 10 seats and are still trying to decide their constellation. Will they merge, stay separate, form a new party? Jewish Arab party, maybe? All of this is still at play. So should Netanyahu's majority fade, progressive parties would be in the distinct minority, but while the country would, in Scheindlin's prediction, likely still be led by firm right-wingers, there would probably be some domestic change. Quote, a less populist style, less divisive rhetoric, less targeting of civilian institutions. Maybe they would try to revive damaged diplomatic relations. They would like to advance the draft of the ultra-Orthodox They would like to advance the draft for the ultra-Orthodox. Attacks on the Israel judiciary may reduce. Resisted by Netanyahu, an independent inquiry into what happened on 7 October would almost certainly be established. That would be a huge focus on the campaign. But least likely to change is policy towards Palestinians. She points to the role of Naftali Bennett, who would be at the heart of any new government and had a leading role in the Judea and Samaria Settlement Council before going into politics, an umbrella organization for Israeli settlements in the illegally occupied West Bank. He is dead set against a Palestinian state. So who knows? Maybe come October, no longer a Prime Minister Netanyahu. in Israel because things are fraying. All right, before we go, just a little bit on some Canadians who make us proud. And for that, going to the world of tennis, where Canadians are trying to qualify for the French Open. Unfortunately, none of them got out of the qualification draw, with Alexis Galarneau being the closest to do so, getting to the third and final round and losing 7-5 in the final set of a three-set match. Unfortunately for him. So no additional Canadians playing at the French Open other than those that had already qualified through the main draw. But yesterday, also in Strasbourg, France, there was an all-Canadian quarterfinal at a tournament between Victoria Mboko and Leila Annie Fernandez. And Mboko won it rather handily, 6-4, 6-4. Well, not too handily, I guess, but the result was never in doubt there. And the IIHF Hockey Championships, kids and Cubs, Team Canada is still playing currently on the ice against Slovenia, leading 1-0 in the first period, and so far still maintaining a perfect record of 5 wins, 4 regular wins, and 1 in overtime. So they did get challenged a little bit, and that would have been by Norway, actually, needing to go to overtime to get that win, but still atop of the standings there. And that is some good news. And finally, one last little bit of good news for Canadians coming from our athletes. Again, just having a little trouble here with the computer. And there we go. That should bring them up. And in canoe sprint, we've had some success by our Canadian athletes here. And let's see, it's 4 Canadian boats raced in the A finals at the second stop of the ICF Canoe Sprint World Cup in Brandenburg, Germany. For the second week in a row, Sophia Jensen reached the podium in the women's C1 500 meter, adding a bronze to the silver she captured in Szeged, Hungary. She finished 1.34 seconds behind the winner. The next day, she paddled to the silver medal in the women's C1 200 meter, the solo women's canoe event that is part of the Olympic program, and finishing 3/4 of a second behind the winner in that one. And in the women's C2 500 meters, that's 2 paddlers, another Olympic program event, Katie Vincent and Zoe Wojcik finished just off the podium in 4th place after a fiercely contested race. They had finished 5th last week in Hungary, and Michelle Russell battled through a tough field in the women's K1, that's kayak, one person, 500 meter, ultimately earning a place in the A final, but finishing 9th. And in sailing, Georgia and Antonia Lewin-Lafrance finished 4th at the 2026 49er FX World Championships in Quiberon, France, rebounding after a tough start to the regatta. They were in 20th place after the 2-day preliminary series, but it was enough to qualify them for the Gold Fleet. And then during the 2-day elimination series, they moved up the ranks to 14th, then 9th, which qualified them for the final series featuring only the top 10 boats. On Sunday, they finished 2nd and 3rd in the 2 races to climb 5 points in the standings. They tied in points with the bronze medalists from Poland, but the Polish team took the last spot on the podium by virtue of their higher placement in the final race of the competition. Quote, "We had a really consistent day," said Antonia and Georgia Lewin-Lafrance, who were the bronze medalists at the 2025 World Championships. Quote, "We just felt pretty confident and happy with the way we sailed. It was really nice to finish on a high and wrap up the regatta in 4th place overall. What made the difference this week was having confidence from the get-go. That was definitely lacking a little bit on our boat in the beginning. And as the week went on, we just became more and more confident with our process, with our starts. And it means we ended on a really high note, which is really great. I mean, coming back from 20th place to actually tying for 3rd and losing on a tiebreaker decision. That's pretty darn impressive. So there you go, Kits and Cubs. And one last one for you here from the world of triathlon. It would appear that Martin Sobi finished 7th at the World Triathlon Championship Series in Yokohama, Japan. It was his first time placing inside the top 10. and it comes on the heels of a bronze medal. He helps Canada win in the mixed relay at the World Triathlon Cup in Chengdu 1 week earlier. So there you go. Lots of Canadians who make us proud, and we hope that you cheer for them. And with that, kids, that's all I got for you today. A little longer extra because I did wanted to bring the Israel story during the main show, and I had literally forgotten about it until I remembered. So that's why it came at the end. That's all I got for you. Have a wonderful weekend. I will try to come on tomorrow to have a pubcast of sorts. Tomorrow we won't be at the pub, but I like our little rendezvous, and we haven't been doing them enough this year. So join me tomorrow. I will aim for around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and we'll just sit and have some casual chat for a couple of hours and keep the tradition going. Okay? Amour et bisous, and we will see you tomorrow. Remember the rules tomorrow: no religion, no politics. Okay? All right. Bye, everyone.